What is the feeling of going in to such an iconic place as that?
I got stung.
Yeah, I was like, what do I need to know?
Yeah. Leaves of 3, leave it be.
I started blowing on it.
Seagulls, and they're making their way downtown, walking fast.
Completely harmless, except it's visually terrifying.
Except it's...
Welcome back to the Helpful Gardeners podcast. Things will look a little different in the studio. Well, we came back after a couple weeks on vacation, and we just decided, you know what? We're in fall vibes.
Yep, you got to freshen it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I didn't feel like fall, autumnal, whatever, until we changed the studio over.
Yeah.
And then it kind of hit me, and I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's something to be said about changing your surroundings and celebrating the season. And like you said, it just gets you into those vibes and coziness. And
do you change your decor at home to like suit the vibe, or are you minimalistic?
I don't know. It's weird. I just got into our new home this year. So maybe because I feel a little bit more rooted, I might get into more seasonal decor. I mean, it's kind of hard not to when you work at a garden center and you're surrounded by it all the time. And you're like, oh, I would love this in my house. So we'll see how it goes. Are you more minimalistic?
Very.
Okay. Yeah.
Very. I really don't change. Outside, yes. Obviously, like I fall mums, but inside, I've never been big into like I know some people who go over the top. Like there's people out there who change the salt and pepper shakers and stuff like that. Yeah, there you go.
Speaking of which,
there you go. I forgot about that.
They're so cute. We got these little salt and pepper shakers.
Yeah.
And one says arsenic and the other one says cyanide. Can you imagine hosting a party? Be like, need some.
Yeah. The thing is, they're awesome. If I changed them over, I guarantee in February mine would still say arsenic and cyanide. It's just, that's not where my brain goes. So I am absolutely guilty of not being the home decor changeover kind of guy person.
I just want to go into, first of all, how gardening has been for Canadians the last, little bit. I know one of the biggest thing that I see on social media lately is wasp season.
Oh my God. I got stung.
You did?
Yeah. Yeah, I got stung. I wasn't even in my garden. I was on Nose Hill. And so I don't know if you know this about wasps. The most likely time to get stung by a wasp is on a cold, windy day. Okay? They're not happy that it's cold, and they blow into you, and they're aggressive little pricks anyway, and they're like, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful, still, warm day. I was on Nose Hill, but the wasps are everywhere. And I was reaching into my bag to get a water bottle for Jimmy, and I was talking to Jenny. So I was looking at Jenny, and I'm grabbing the water bottle, and I felt this acute pain in my thumb. And I looked down, and there's a wasp just sitting on my thumb, stung me for no reason. I hadn't touched her. It wasn't on my bag.
Wow.
And she just zapped my thumb good. And it was first sting I've had in a while. And I go out a lot. I'm around wasps. They don't bother me. Because wasps, they are important for our ecosystem.
Yeah.
Okay, they absolutely are something we need. Speaking of wasps, I'm going to talk about bees, and you saved a bee recently.
Oh, I did. I totally forgot about that.
I didn't. I was so...
Well, you know how we're saving water in Calgary right now. We've got that major water restriction on. And so we had this huge... Before the water restriction happened, we filled our little doggy pool. We don't have a dog, but we have a dog pool. I don't know why.
You're being prepared for when you get it.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah. Totally. No, but we filled it up. So we just had water, and I was not smart. I didn't cover it. So a poor bee landed in it, and then I was like, what is that? Brad's like, oh, it's a bee. And I was like, we have to save it. So I got a twig, and I got it out, and it climbed onto the branch. And then I was like, we can't put it in direct sunlight. I became such a caretaker, and we put it in the shade, left it there. I started blowing on it because I thought that would
bring out your hair dryer.
I was catering to the max for this bee. And then I remember what you said about sugar water. So I put a little bit of sugar in water, and then just stuck it, on, it was like waterproof patio furniture. So I just put it on there and beat it, and saw the bee go towards it and drink from it. And I felt so proud.
Yep. And just, if you can't find a twig, it's highly unlikely if you're lifting a bee out of water. I've fished bees out of water. I've picked them up off the ground with my hand, and I've never been stung.
Okay.
Yeah, so...
That's the main difference.
Yeah, we're going to get you there eventually where you're picking bees up and petting them and whatnot. But I was so happy when I saw that. I was like,
so good and bad in the pollinator department right now.
Yep.
But, we might have a few more weeks of aggression in wasps.
Quick tip. Waspinators. So for anybody who doesn't know what a waspinator is, it's like a wire skeleton, a wire frame, and there's black charcoal fabric around it, like landscape fabric. And you hang them up, and basically they replicate a wasp's nest. Wasps are very territorial, so they don't like going where there's another wasp's nest because the wasps from that nest will kill the other wasp.
Yes.
If you cannot find a waspinator, and I don't believe they're expensive, they should be in the region of like $10 to $12. What you can use as well is a brown paper bag, and put something in it. One of those little soccer balls or other bags or a balloon or something, just so that when it gets wet, it's still going to hold the shape. And you can put that up. And when the wasps come, they see it and they go, oh, wasp's nest, and they'll go elsewhere.
Good tip.
Yeah, so there are ways you can do it where you don't have to be out there with sprays and whatnot. Now, we're dealing with wild animals and we're dealing with bugs that don't have the same instinct. So it's not 100% guaranteed, but if you've got 10 wasps, maybe only one will be brave enough to try and get past the waspinator or doesn't see it. Make sure it's very visible. Don't tuck it off in the corner. You want the wasps to notice it, and that can help a lot.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Let's move on to our little time away, because we both went traveling this summer. Yeah. You went all over Eastern Canada, dipped into the States a little bit. I really want to dive into some of the pictures that you took. And because we are the helpful gardeners, specifically, we saw a lot of cool plants, hey?
When I was in New York, we went into Central Park, where we saw amazing things like boulders. And we
See, that's so cool. Going into Central Park, because that is something where, I've seen it in tons of movies and TV shows. What is the feeling of going in to such an iconic place as that in person versus seeing it on screen? I've been a lot, but it never loses its charm. Yeah. It's so incredible because you're on a New York block and the traffic is by and people are blaring their horns and blah, blah, blah. And you cross the street and you're in this park and there's huge trees and there's people playing and we walked into Central Park and it was so funny. So Jenny is a big George Michael Wham fan. And we walked into Central Park, we stop and we get organized and I get situated. Okay, this is where we need to go because we wanted to go to Strawberry Fields, which is the tribute to John Lennon. So I'm like, okay, I know where that is. We'll get there. So we got situated and there was somebody sitting in Central Park playing saxophone. Wow. And as we got up to him, he started playing Careless Whisper on the sax, and Jenny started dancing and I was videotaping it and we were dancing together. So then other people stopped and we give him a tip because he was a busker and everything. What? But it was so cool. Oh, that's so wild. Yeah. I love that. I love like music and parks and just the whole vibe must have been so cool. But here's the funny thing. That's not one of the pictures I sent you. And the reason I didn't is exactly what you said, is that I love Central Park. I absolutely do. But it's so played out. Yeah. And I wanted to share some more maybe hidden gems. A couple of other things that, there's, and I'll talk about them when they come up, but there's things I know and one that I found in New York that other people may not be aware of. Yeah. Everybody knows Central Park. You say Central Park, you don't have to say New York. Nobody goes, Central Park, Calgary? You're like, no, the New York one. Central Park? Yeah. Oh, friends. Yes. Got it. But yeah, so funnily enough, I did, and I've got a ton in Central Park, but I was like, and I was this close because I had one that had an animal in it because it also had a turtle. But I was like, no, I want to share a hidden gem. So I stayed away from it. Well, let's get into that because this first one intrigues me because this one's so cool. There's sand and there's grass and not a cloud in the sky. Where'd you take this? The beaches in New York.
And that is a June grass. It's like Eastern Marram grass or something. And they've got, as you can see, the white sands, like full on proper sand dunes. And then it goes down to crystal clear water. There's breakers. You can body surf, boogie board. You can actually surf at some points on the beach. The water is warm and it's warm and it's humid, and you lie on the beach and there's seagulls and they're making their way downtown walking fast. I won't finish that song.
If you know, you know.
Yeah. But yeah, I love it because nobody, when you think New York, again, you think Central Park, Statue of Liberty.
I don't even think grass.
Yeah.
Because when I think grass, I think prairies.
Yep.
So the fact that in this photo, there's nothing but grass.
Yep.
Which is so cool.
It's all the sand dune grasses, and I just love walking through sand dunes. So yeah, that's why I included that one.
Cool. So this one is interesting. So it's ivy, and then there's like is that a lion statue in behind? Neat.
Yeah, and that was one we found in Soho.
What is Soho?
It's a region of New York. So if you look at New York, there's Soho. Have you heard of the Tribeca Film Festival?
I've heard of Tribeca.
Yeah, so that's a region in New York.
Tribeca is a region.
Yeah, so to break it down into Calgary, Tribeca would be like Beddington, and Soho would be Coventry.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's Manhattan, and we were walking down the street. We were boutique shopping, and I saw this stunning garden. Stunning. So I wandered in, and it's called Elizabeth Street Garden. It's on Elizabeth Street in New York. Right? It's a very unoriginal name. The city are trying to take it.
Okay.
And it's a free garden. It's a community garden. So you can just go and sit in there, and you're downtown New York, and it's this tiny, tiny little garden. They've got a fig tree covered in figs. And you can sit in there, and there's people sitting all over, and they're reading, or they're having a coffee and they're talking, or they're just wandering around. And the city of New York are trying to take it. And they want to develop it, I believe, into condos. And the Elizabeth Street Garden Guardians, is what they call themselves, are fighting to save it. So there's a website you can go to, Elizabeth Street Gardens, and there's a petition you can sign. Doesn't matter if you're from out of town. So I signed it, and I also made a cash donation because I'm like, New York doesn't need more buildings. It needs more gardens.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely stunning. Jenny was walking around. She's like, did you know about this place? I'm like, no, not at all. Such a welcome break, because when you're in New York, everybody is going somewhere and everybody is going fast. But nobody was there. It was like stepping into like an alternate time zone. And everybody is relaxed and calm, and they're in this garden, and there's birds and there's life and old growth. Like that ivy has grown over that statue, and it was just absolutely stunning. So yeah, that's why.
Nice. Okay, it looks like clover. Like it looks like something I would grow in my lawn.
You know what? It looks like a zoomed in picture of clover.
Yeah, what is that?
Leaves of 3, leave it be. It's poison ivy.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay, what? That's such a mischievous little plant.
Yeah, and that was growing in a forest. We visited the Morgan Arboretum, a tree museum in St. Anne de Bellevue. They work with McGill University, and that poison ivy was maybe 4 inches off the path.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
I didn't have to explore to get it. I was walking down the path, and I was like, oh, hey, poison ivy.
So wait, what's the rhyme again?
Leaves of 3, leave it be.
Leaves of 3, leave it be.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So I'm guessing it's so funny because...
Leaves of 4, eat some more.
Really?
No, that's from The Simpsons. Do not eat anything.
No, that's really interesting because here in Alberta, I don't really think we have to worry about that. But is that a common thing to know about on the east side?
Yeah, and there is poison ivy in Alberta. I can genuinely say all the walks I've done, I've never seen it.
Yeah.
I've never seen an area. Yeah, I had friends years and years ago who went out. It was a buddy of mine and his girlfriend. And they went out and they got a little frisky on the blanket, and the blanket was on top of a poison ivy patch because they set it up at night. And they were hospitalized for the poison ivy coverage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they didn't know. Couldn't see it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you don't feel it's not like a nettle. You get stung off a nettle, it's like a wasp sting. You immediate. But poison ivy. So if you touch the leaf, and I do not recommend this at all. I'm saying what it is. Leave it alone. Like it's not worth the risk. But if you touch the leaf, you're okay. It's the sap inside that causes it. So if you break that leaf and you get the sap on you, you're in trouble. And it literally causes burns.
Yeah. No doubt.
Yeah, so I saw that, and that was not an exploration at all. It was walking, and I was like, oh, there it is. And it's pretty rife on the East Coast. You do have to be careful.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is cool.
Yeah.
It's so funny how diverse all of your photos are. Like you have beachy desert all the way up to like this beautiful lily pads.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's just a water lily. They were in bloom when we happened to be there. That is literally right next to the boat locks in St. Anne's.
Oh.
And it just grows wild. And it blooms. And I had pictures, but somebody wouldn't let me share pictures of animals. But there's frogs next. So in amongst there, you'll always see, well, not always, but it's very likely you will find turtles and frogs.
Oh, cute.
Yeah, and the pollinators love it. You see dragonflies land on it, but it grows everywhere. It grows everywhere, and it's just this beautiful, like, even Jenny was like, this just grows anywhere. And I was like, yeah.
And then this one, I love this one. It's like the perfect like ode to pollinators.
Full confession, the top one wasn't from vacation. It was from a hike I did here.
I mean, vacation still counts.
Yeah, I wasn't at work. That's a western white butterfly, and I'm not sure what type of bee that is.
They're sharing the same flower.
Sharing is caring.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And I stood and watched them for probably longer than I should. Jimmy lay down. That's how long I was watching them. Yeah. And then the other one is a Japanese beetle, which actually is a pest. That one is in Quebec. And that was a Japanese beetle and a bee also sharing a flower.
Which is so cute because it's like the pollinators that we all know, and then it's the dirty pollinator. Like they both get to benefit.
Yep. They're both just, hanging out doing their thing. Yeah. And then the last one is a giant swallowtail. And they are probably about that big.
Seriously?
Yep. And that garden where the swallowtail is was absolutely chock-a-block with pollinators. Every different type, dirty pollinators, bees, butterflies.
How big do you think the caterpillar was?
That's a good question. I've never looked into that part.
Oh.
I've never looked. I know the white in England. You call them cabbage whites. That's called a western white, and they've got the traditional green ones. They love eating cabbages. Anything in that family. So those little green ones that'll decimate your cabbages.
Yeah,
that's the western white. The swallowtail, I'm not 100% sure.
Oh, interesting. I kind of want to know, like, what's the biggest caterpillar? Okay, are you ready for this? This is really scary. It's called the hickory horned devil. It's the biggest in North America.
Couldn't have called it hickory dickory? 12 centimeters?
12 centimeters.
Okay. And the horned devil gives me pause. The hickory part, you start off sweet. You're like, what's his name? You're like, hickory. You're like, oh, that's sweet. Horned devil. You're like, I'll dial that back.
Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
It can grow up to 6 inches long, completely harmless, except it's visually terrifying.
Except it's... Wow. I mean, harmless, but exactly that. Like that, if I saw that and I didn't know what it was, my rule of thumb there would be leave it alone.
Yeah, because they say it's harmless, and yet I wonder what would happen if you touched one of those horns.
Well, I wonder if they're actually like, are they spikes or are they just like flesh? Like, will it bend or is it a spine?
Point. Yeah.
And because, caterpillars don't bother me at all, but unless somebody was like, oh, yeah, that's a hickory dickory, you're totally allowed to pick it up. I would pick it up because they don't scare me.
I'm sorry, now I'm invested. It's a moth.
Oh, okay. Does hickory dickory come out the gate strong?
Hold on. Wait, did I get this wrong?
Or is it one of those creepy as heck moths that you're like,
Hickory horned devil moth size, 5.5 inches long.
So it's bigger, it's longer as a caterpillar than it is as a moth.
Yeah, wait. Oh, here we go.
Oh, that is, get out of here.
That's pretty, hey?
That is stunning.
Yeah, but like, look at this on a hand. It's like the size of your hand.
But that is beautiful.
That's really cool. All right. Anyway.
Did you ever do that where you would put caterpillars in an aquarium with branches and then you would see them form the cocoon and then
totally.
they would... The caterpillar goes into that cocoon and then basically liquefies and rebuilds. I can't think of another species that does that.
No.
That has that actual full-on metamorphosis, completely changes from being, essentially a pest, a garden pest, a destroyer of plants, to an integral pollinator with incredible beauty.
Yeah.
Love it. Done.
All right. So I went to Ireland and the UK. I've been really excited about this trip. My mom's first time ever across an ocean. So it was a really big deal for her. And
you got to be there with her?
Yes. And that was really cool.
That is really cool.
And we went all over Ireland, up into Scotland, a little bit into the UK or into England. So it's this beautiful, it's like got a long stem. It's these gorgeous, almost like fiery type flowers on them. And these were growing everywhere. These were like a weed. These were like native flowers, like much like our wild rose in Alberta.
Isn't it great? Like with the water lily for us and with this for you, is that if you'd gone a month earlier or a month later, it would have just been the green leaves.
Yes.
It wouldn't. You would never have seen that. It wouldn't have even registered. Mm-hmm. But you got to see that by, for want of a better term, just dumb chance.
Obviously, where springtime is like the time to go. And there was a lot of gardens where, we missed out on magnolias.
Let's be honest, you can see those blooms in Calgary. Not magnolia, but you can see those blooms, the apple blossom and whatnot. I'm not saying they're not beautiful. I'm not saying maybe they're a little more prolific, where the gardening is better. But that you haven't seen. No. So, all right, I didn't see those blooms, but I would trade it in for that.
Yeah. And what was really cool was it was growing, like there's a lot of brambles out there. Yeah. So instead of fences, they use brambles to distinguish land. I thought that was so cool. Yeah. But yeah, you just find these plants just growing in the brambles. And it's like, wow, why do you use nature, Yep. Okay, this next one. So it's a picture of me in front of a bee, and this was in Belfast. And I don't even know why there was
that works also because the bee for Brandi.
Yeah, like I just loved it, and it was just this bee made out of, I believe there were succulents on this metal frame, and it was just hanging out downtown Belfast. And I was like, I need a picture with this bee.
So the bee for Belfast, for bee, for Brandi.
I don't even know why. There was nothing outside of it to say what it was for.
This photograph brought to you by the letter B.
Yeah, you remember in Calgary when we had those cows everywhere?
Yep.
It's kind of like I wonder if there's just bees everywhere.
Yeah, I have no idea, but that...
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
That is a phenomenal picture.
I just loved how they use plants in that kind of way, This one in Edinburgh, it was made of succulents, and this clock actually works. So cool. It says RNLI, 200 years and counting, and it stands for Royal National Lifeboat Institution. They're celebrating 200 years of saving lives at sea, and especially thanking all the volunteers who give their time to save others, all funded by public donations. And this is right downtown Edinburgh, kind of down from the Edinburgh Castle.
They're like, oh yeah, been doing it for 200 years. And you're like, oh yeah, Calgary's only 110 years old.
Yes, thank you for saying that, because that was the biggest thing. And I can't remember, what was that saying that you said?
The biggest difference between North America and Europe is North America considers 100 years to be old and Europe considers 100 miles to be far.
Yes, because, that's 200 years of saving lives in lifeboats. And for us, we're so young. Everything over there is so much older. There's so much more history. All of that is just so different. So I thought this was really cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah, made of succulents and all that. This is a video, so it doesn't really count. But
what the? Like, Colin, you do 5 photographs. You're like, I might do 6 or 7 in a video.
I know, but I forgot. Okay, do you remember how we were talking about like smart gardening?
Yeah.
So this was the last thing I expected to see in Ireland was like a robot lawnmower, because I guess it's not really taken off here in Canada. And so just so happens our Airbnb outside of Thurles, which is not like, it's not big city or anything. No. It's like smaller town. And they had a robot lawnmower, and this became the highlight of the Airbnb. Okay, because every morning I would look out the window and I'm like, is it going? I didn't realize I would have the reaction that I did of being excited to see the robot lawnmower come out of its cave and start mowing the lawn and doing circles. Like, it wasn't efficient by any means, but it got the job done, and it would go back to its little thing.
It's more efficient than going out and cutting it.
Yeah, well, and it was funny because it was in the Airbnb instructions. It was like, if you see the robot lawnmower stuck in a corner, put it back on its wheels and then press a button and it'll go home.
Are you serious? So normally they're like, this is the Wi-Fi code.
Yeah. But it was like instructions for the lawnmower. But this place was fantastic. It was this old farmhouse. And they had restored it and they had modernized it. And it was just an absolutely gorgeous. If you're ever on Airbnb in Ireland, like, check out Bee's listing of the granary. And yeah, so this lawnmower was amazing. And they also have cows, and the cow made a surprise visit one night. So we're drinking wine and we were just outside. Brad's like, cow. And we look out the window. There's like a cow going like just jumping up and down. You know when they get excited?
Yeah.
Was jumping up and down and found some like good looking plants that, I mean, they're never allowed in the area by the Airbnb.
Fair. Yeah,
and so, yeah, we had to go and call up Bee and just be like, there's a cow loose. What do we do? And she runs
That's
up.
not mentioned in the rules.
Yeah, there's the lawnmower, but not the cows. What do we do with the cows? So it was just a really cool experience. But yeah, I was really surprised by this Airbnb. And she also had a butterfly garden. And so every morning you would look outside and you just see butterflies everywhere. It was magical.
And then you're like, okay, great, butterflies. Where's my robot?
I know, right?
Talk about a dichotomy of gardening, where on one side you've got this pollinator heaven for nature and natural, and on the other side you're like updated to robots cutting your grass.
100%, yeah. And it was like this little patch. And what I found was really interesting was all across Ireland, they didn't really have long grass. It was always very short, and I don't know why. Do you know why? I
think it's very traditional in. I can't really speak for Ireland, but in the UK, they're very persnickety about the lawns, about their grass, and you got to keep it short. It's got to be a certain way, and it's like that. Oh no, that blade of grass is too long, and you're snipping it with nail scissors and stuff. So yeah. Okay,
so that was another interesting thing that I found out about Ireland. Okay, this next one was so just north of Thurles, there's a little town called Templemore, and there was this really small garden, kind of like how you were mentioning those hidden gem gardens. And I just wanted to go and have a place to go and eat ice cream and go for a little walk. So we found this little lake, this little park, and inside this park was, and I don't know the entire history. I know at one point there's like castle remains on this park, and then at one point you also come across this area where there used to be an outdoor pool. They took out the pool and replaced it with a garden.
So they just basically backfilled it with soil and said, "Hey, now we got to..."
Exactly, and they got roses and everything. And what I really and it's funny because this isn't even like, I mean, there's plants in the photo, but what I loved was the quote. It says, "Your mind is the garden. Your thoughts are the seeds. You can grow flowers or you can grow weeds." I was like, that hit me.
Nice.
Like, that's something that I'm going to remember because it's so true. And even when I came back and coming back to work, it's something that I've carried on with me.
It wasn't contrived. It wasn't like on the front of a corridor you went looking for it. It was like that serendipity.
Yes.
You found this little park and you had your ice cream, and it was just like, that's what you needed to hear at that moment.
100%.
And it carries there.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
It was wonderful. Okay, and then my last one is going into Alnick Garden, The poison garden was so popular, they just opened up the gates and basically said, don't touch anything, don't smell anything, don't taste anything.
Well, when we went, that gate was closed.
Yeah.
You had to go to the booth. You didn't pay any extra, but you had to go to the booth and register.
Yeah.
Then when X people had gathered, they would come out, they would unlock the gate, they would take you in, they would lock the gate behind them, they would guide you through, come back out, and the next group.
Yeah.
And now it's just open season.
Oh, yeah. And it's cool. They had about 3 experts inside, and you just go along it. It's not like a huge... You can go on Google Earth, and you can even go down and look at an overview of the poison garden.
Yeah, it's not huge, no.
Yeah. Why is it so fascinating to learn about things that could hurt you? I don't know why.
I think for us as well... Because you're right, the Montreal Botanical Garden had a poison garden, not as good as Alnick. Sorry, Montreal, got to give the shout out where it's due. We are so hyper fixated on the beauty or growing for food, and to go the other way and realize that some of these plants are, fatal. Like they're not to be messed with.
Yes.
And I think it's almost like you're taken aback.
Yes.
Like that first picture you showed, that beautiful flower. Yeah, it's gorgeous, and we can talk about it, but it's like, all right, well, that chrysanthemum is gorgeous, and we see them every year, and we still love them. But here you walk in, and there's something kind of like otherworldly about it, and you feel like witches. And
yes, and those podcasts that people love is like the crime podcast. Like they shared a lot of stories about people using these plants like to murder or it was by accident or whatnot. They had actually, I'm going to share some of the plants that I found, just because I'm sure other people are probably going to be very interested by this as well. For example, they had oleander branches. So oleander, Alexander the Great soldiers were said to have consumed meat that was skewered with oleander branches. 7 died. The plant can induce nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. And it was too much.
And back then, if they didn't know the treatment, severe dehydration.
Exactly. Yeah. This one was really interesting to me. Yew trees.
Yep.
They contain highly poisonous taxane alkaloids. Everything on a yew tree except for the skin on the berries is poisonous. However, there are species of deer that can consume these no problem.
If memory serves, I'm going back a long time here, the most toxic part is the nut inside the berry. And human teeth aren't strong enough to break it, but some animals are,
wow.
like the deer. But they don't get the ill effect. It's like beaver fever in lakes. Some animals, humans are massively affected. Some animals aren't.
Yeah.
So, that...
They also had one plant that was in a glass case. It was a strychnine tree. And I'd never heard of this one before. Apparently the poison is actually in the seeds. If you were to consume the poison in the seeds, symptoms begin within 30 minutes. Respiration and circulation become stimulated. Your muscles enter periods of contractions until eventually it fails from either, like your body fails from either exhaustion or broken bones. Like you cannot be around this seed.
Yeah, strychnine is an evil poison. Oh. You didn't have to sound so excited about it.
Should we make another podcast?
Should I check my coffee?
They had juniper there, and I was like, no, I like gin. I was like, I actually went up to the expert, and I was like, tell me.
Yeah, okay, come on, buddy.
Yeah, I was like, what do I need to know?
Yeah.
And basically, they just said that they can increase miscarriage in pregnant women, worsen diabetes symptoms, and even impact individuals fresh out of surgery or with bleeding disorders. They had ricin, which is castor oil.
Yep.
That was interesting. And this one was one that I always tell people, because it was also at the glass box ones, I'm telling you, and it's interesting because they also had like cannabis and wolfsbane and that kind of thing in the garden. So it was very educational as well. But this plant was in a glass box, and it was called Gimpy Gimpy. Have you heard of it?
The most recent time I heard about it, because we are friends and I follow you, is you had it in your stories.
Yes, that's what I'm reading now is my stories. I was like, I'm going to forget. I need to write this down. So it's also known as the stinging tree. It's a variety of nettle. Contact with this plant will cause intense skin reaction. The more you touch it, the worse it will be. The effects can last for days, sometimes years. I read online that there was one account, Ernie Ryder, 1963, he was slapped in the face, arms, and chest by the stinging tree. This is what he said. I remember it feeling like there were giant hands trying to squash my chest. For 2 or 3 days, the pain was almost unbearable. I couldn't work or sleep. Then it was pretty bad pain for another fortnight or so. The stinging persisted for 2 years and recurred every time I had a cold shower. And that was from the Australia Geographic.
I love the fact that you just dropped fortnight in there. Yeah.
I love that. Ever since I learned what fortnight meant, I was like...
Yeah. So many
Shelta's
people...
smart.
Yeah. And for anybody who doesn't, fortnight is 2 weeks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We should probably say that.
Yeah. I just thought...
Can you imagine? Because there's that new Taylor Swift song. Now you know what fortnight means. Now you can go out to all your Swifties and be like,
oh,
I know what fortnight means, more 14 days. But yeah, if you're ever interested, I'm going to pop the Alnick Garden Poison Garden page over on our show notes at goldenacre.ca/podcast. You can go and check it out for yourself. I'm not sure. I think they have a few of the plants that they have in the garden. Yeah, they've got videos. There's like a whole gift shop. Alnick Garden is a hidden gem in my opinion. Like, it needs to be advertised way more because it's huge. I was like, we need to go to Newcastle and we need to go to Alnick in one day. No, I should have stayed in Newcastle for a night, gone to Alnick for one day, and then Newcastle the other day. But
well, we not a garden, but we did something similar in New York, and we went to the Natural History Museum.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Night at the museum.
We thought, we got a few hours to kill.
Yeah.
You need a full day. It's 6 floors.
Like, that's just wild.
Jenny and I were speed walking it and we still didn't see it all. And we're like, and at the end, you're just like, I'm not even absorbing anything because I'm hitting sensory overload.
Yeah.
So I did the Central Park Botanical Gardens were unfortunately shut down. They're reopening them in 2025 because they are installing an Italian garden. And I was like, it takes a full year to plant some basil. Come on, no. They're doing a massive renovation on the garden.
Cool.
So that was a little unfortunate. But I did go to the Montreal Botanical Garden, and it is beautiful. But Alnick Garden holds a special place in my heart. However, because you couldn't make it to the Montreal Botanical Garden.
Oh, what is this?
I got you a little something from the.
What? You did?
Yeah.
Oh, look at the box. That's so cute.
Well, you got to open the box.
Oh, what is this?
So that's just a new coffee mug for you.
Cute. And then
those are edible seeds from plants grown in the Montreal Botanical Garden.
Whoa. Okay, so in this,
there's 3 types, I believe. Yep. I know you love nasturtium.
Oh my gosh, chamomile. And we can eat these.
Yep. Yeah, they're 3 edible plants.
Thanks, Colin. This is really nice. Thank you. Whoa. Okay, so this says iris.
Yep.
Oh, perennial.
Yep. And it is, remember when we talked about Canada Day and we talked about provincial flowers?
Yes.
That is the Quebec provincial flower. That is the...
No way.
Yep.
Oh, that's so cool. I didn't know you could get these.
Yeah, so
this will grow here?
Yeah, as far as I know.
Oh, I'm going to keep this package forever.
Yep.
It says Fabrique au Québec.
Yep. Yeah, I believe that seed's gathered from the botanical garden. Don't hold me to that. The person I spoke to, even though I lived in Montreal, my French is exceedingly limited, and especially since I haven't been back in a while.
Yeah.
And the person I spoke with, her English was exceedingly limited. So the two of us were speaking Fringlish, and we're trying to communicate, and I'm not so certain we both understood each other very well.
Yeah.
We both obviously had a passion for plants, and we were trying to discuss them, and it was a lot of fun. It shows that a commonality, especially something like gardening, really tears down barriers. So I believe those seeds were gathered from the botanical garden. I can't be sure that's what she said. So, yeah, bear with me.
I mean, the fact, though, that I get like a really cool Canadian symbol to grow here in Alberta, that's really cool.
And
so
I know
thank
you couldn't make it to the Montreal Botanical Garden, so I thought I'd bring a little bit of the botanical garden to you.
Thank you so much. And that wraps us up for this week's episode. So happy to be back with you. Make sure to follow us on Spotify. We're also on YouTube with our video podcast. It's always fun. We'll be popping up all the pictures from today's episode. We're also over on Instagram, Facebook under Golden Acre Home and Garden. If you're in the city, come and visit us. We have a lot of autumn going on in the greenhouse as well right now. And if you want notes on any of the places that we mentioned today, more close-up pictures of what we talked about today, head over to goldenacre.ca/podcast. We have our blog up there, and it'll showcase everything that we talked today. And I guess we'll talk to you next weekend for more fall content.
I know. Okay, bye everyone.
Bye.
I'm already. It went by so quick. I'm already excited for the next one.